Welcome back YouTubers to my channel. I'm AspieAnswersAll and welcome to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie, and basically I welcome you all with open arms, especially to the newbies that are just new to my channel as of today and you landed on my page, whatever reason it may be. I create mental health and awareness versus sharing you guys my life story with Aspergers syndrome, OCD and the like, along with some tips and advice about how I manage it on a day-to-day basis versus basically my life stories of it, how to go with it, as well as just basically going on a journey with me, basically based on the everyday tips and advice with the training involved, as well as just life experiences that I've been through of everyday situations that we may come to face, regardless what they may be it, of the ones that are really classic, relationship breakdowns and the like, so that hopefully with some of the stuff that I share with you, all of the tips and advice will be of value to you, as well as some words of encouragement or pearls of wisdom for you all, so that can bring you peace and comfort, so that you know that you're not alone, regardless of where you're at in your days of life ahead of you. So no further ado guys, as you know, at this current point of time, I've been trying to do the Aspergers syndrome and series versus the ADHD and series, dyslexia and series and the like, just to hopefully tidy things up in those playlistings, so that hopefully it can be readily accessible for you all if you're needing anything on some everyday topics that you may be struggling with those conditions and more, so that hopefully later on in the piece I'll be able to get straight back into maybe some mental health disorder ones or what have you, but not currently sure as of yet, but I'll keep you all posted on that front. But here today, as I present to you this video message, I'm hoping to address to you all, or talk to you all about, as no-brainer as it reads in my title, Aspergers syndrome and mental health issues. Basically, like, as you know, well, it has been classically known now for Aspergers syndrome to be known as a neurological disorder to some medical experts today, and that, it's also known as a mental health condition, because obviously in the jurisdiction of that manual that they have been putting it as, of the diagnosis manual 4 or 5, they had to remove it to a point where it shouldn't hopefully cause so much arguments or disagreements. But obviously, as we know, that, as I said so many times before, with Aspergers syndrome, it has a lot of range of other diagnoses along with the similar symptoms that may occur to certain people of those diagnoses, regardless what it may be. But as we know that we can't limit ourselves to one condition, okay? As we know, it has a wide variety of similar symptoms like other conditions. Many people may, think, or who are on the autism spectrum scale, which I hate using it, from the high function to the low functioning, will vary from person to person, along with having Aspergers syndrome or autism or some form of that kind of neurological condition, as I mentioned, may suffer from depression from time to time. I mentioned many times before, however, based on the topics or my life story so far, if you've been following me from day one, that yes, I do suffer from depression, anxiety and the like, basically, and that sometimes for me and many others it requires so much energy based on our, not just the physical but our mental state of mind, how many of us tend to, maybe as many people tend to think, we overthink or overanalyze too many things, but that's how we are in our day of our world around us, in a way of literal thinking versus the lateral thinking. Everyone is different on that spectrum scale. Some of us may see from, the grey picture versus the black and white, or even in full colour, full in depth of what's going on, even if, like I shared before, about me especially, when it comes down to it, I try to put 2 and 2 together while stereotyping, sitting there observing, even if many people think, as I've been told, I'm a little silent one. While I'm socialising, I'm just sitting there trying to observe my surroundings, trying to blend in as best as I can, like a little, you could say, it's a classic example for that kind of category, a chameleon. And then in that stage, basically what I do is, while I'm sitting there observing my surroundings, I try to watch other people's behaviours, attitudes towards an everyday surrounding, be it, here's that classic example, someone at a party that they're having their birthday and basically they're drinking away and loud music playing in the background and whatnot. I've also mentioned times before also, though, for me to suffer from this can go from the ups and lows, ups and downs, highs and lows, extremity due to our personalities. Excuse my term, my tongue's getting tired. Along with these everyday situations of what we may face or go through, like every other person, like the neurotypicals, I call you guys. For us, with having Asperger's syndrome or autism or any other condition that requires that much energy, regardless, as I said, the mental versus the physical, many of us maybe, be on the go, buzzing like blowflies, or as some people notice me, sometimes I'm like a little headless chook trying to fit everything in one time frame of certain things, of whatever needs to be dealt with at that given moment of time, even though now I'm trying to learn now from what I've been experiencing after having so many burnouts, that I'm trying to take a step back and actually just take it one day at a time period. But sometimes some things I'd like to try and plan in advance, regardless what it may be, so that I am prepped ready for any everyday situations that may likely to change, and trying to change with it, even though like many of us autistics don't like change, and I'm one of them. But I'm now trying to gradually wean myself into the changes that may be coming to play in the field of what I go through in my everyday life, regardless what it may be. At the moment, like I said in one of my videos, I've been trying to look out for jobs at the moment, but I'm trying not to feel too down and out at the moment about, all these no's I've been getting, or the words that there's not many, jobs due to some of it drying out, and due to the fact that, I'm trying to block out the negativity of some people thinking it's due to my age factor, regardless of some jobs as requiring young people with their physical versus their mental state of being. But I don't know, I could be wrong in how I'm seeing it, but what I've heard so far is how it is at the moment. We also, when we have a lot of energy going on, we feel that our adrenaline is pumping, we feel like that we can take over the world, we can just do almost anything, we feel like we're incompatible with everybody else and trying to compete with everybody else regardless, even though some people tend to question who and what we are at the moment, On the other hand, though, with the other mental health issues, basically, that I've addressed, I do also suffer from general anxiety, social anxiety, and also sometimes to the point of pushing myself so hard to the extremity of, getting to that high level of stress. But many people may see me as cool, calm, collected, thinking, hang on a minute, girl, you don't look like you're frazzled, you don't look like you're, worried or anything like that, but, I put on a brave front, I know it's kind of bad of me to do that, while I've suffered from depression, that's how I feel right now. I'm hiding on a different mask of certain things, be it, as I shared before, a pantomime of the sad and happy face that you see on comedies and all that. I can't remember the actual name for that mask, but I'm sure you guys will know what I mean from what you've seen on those masks. But then again, you've got to be in mind though, how we go about our daily lives can cause everyday stresses and confusion and everything else with it. But it's all about how we go about our journey together, all alone, regardless of where we are living at this stage of time, basically. But also, as I mentioned before too, though, however, people with Asperger's syndrome does suffer from stress a lot, and can be stressed from anything that arises in social situations. Maybe, socializing in general can be a real mission for some, some of us or many of us, depending on the individual. Of course, as I said, every autistic is different in the way of socializing. I know for a fact that many people may, laugh at me, like I said, when it comes down to me, especially when it comes down to that high extremity of my anxiety, and that I feel that something's about to happen or is happening, but, like deja vu or something along those lines, feel to it, and that I feel at the time too that in the moment, like everything always tends to change regardless what it may be. Sometimes I've got to realise that some of the things that may happen, regardless of how I feel with the anxiety versus my social anxiety or whatever that comes my way, is out of my control. And sometimes, like I'm learning now, is to just let go, let live, and just, how to put it, just let it happen in its own course, so to speak. And like someone said to me many times before, what will be will be. So that's what I'm learning right now, and I think from memory also, it's from my grandfather also, he taught me that as well. But do I listen sometimes to some people that I feel that when I was younger? No, I didn't. No, I regret it sometimes. But then again, we learn as we, get on with life, to just go through our everyday life experiences of whatever we face, and obviously, tend to just go with the flow if we can. As we know, basically, as I said before, when it comes down to like socializing, I can go on the empty, and it drains me and tires me out, exhausts me. As I said so many times also in one of my blogs, that basically many people may think that I'm being rude and consider a whatever label mentality when I do tend to walk away when the things are getting too much. Many people just need to come to an understanding and hopefully be empathetic enough to know that, okay, Karen's had enough, they can still do their everyday activities, and maybe if they still want to involve me, maybe just to let me just to, lay low a bit, maybe just to calm down, or whatever it may be that needs to be dealt with at that given moment of time, so that hopefully I can be energized again, ready to tackle on anything that happens basically, or is about to happen, or even just some everyday activities that you guys, have put into place, maybe as in a day out or something, that hopefully I'll be able to, rejuvenate and go about it. As I said before, another mental health issue that comes on the territory of Asperger's syndrome, basically, and my package of it, is basically social anxiety. This is a real big one for many of us, okay, when it comes down to it, because obviously we're in a different environment, we're with different people who we may not know, even though, like I said so many times before, many of us Aspies tend to be kind, loyal, and to the point that we may stay there to the point of no return with people through good and bad times, regardless of it all. And sometimes also I feel that, some people, I don't know if it's true or not how I'm reading this, but may take advantage of our inner qualities of who and what we are as a person. I'm learning now just to hopefully say no now and again of some of the things that I feel for me isn't right down fit, and if people don't like the way I go about thinking, saying, acting, or whatever, that's their problem, because at the end of the day, yes, I'm different. I am trying to learn to embrace me and love me for who and what I am. As it comes down to it though, regardless of all these everyday environments where I may be going that are new to me, be it like pubs, shops that I haven't even seen around, certain towns, or some of the things that I used to remember and loved going to, and it has changed. That's when basically, for when it comes down to my anxiety, sometimes, everything else will come into play with it, with my sensory issues coming into play, basically the hypersensitive versus the hyposensitivity levels, depending on, how bad it is. Some days may be good days that I won't have these hypersensitivities versus hyposensitivities. I'm on the norm, basically, so to put it. And then again, I guess when it comes down to it though, like with the hypersensitive and hypersensitivity to taste, smell, taste, whatever it is of those 5 classic senses, basically many people tend to maybe think it's all in our heads and whatnot, but us Aspies or autistics alike, we know our limitations, well, we should do anyway, and that I feel that also when it comes down to it, with the sensory overload and everything else in between that goes with this, starts kicking in like waves of or tsunami of those overloads. When those sensory overloads comes and hit us, like no tomorrow for some of us, depending on, how severe or how minor it is, that, our meltdowns may occur. And sometimes our meltdowns are out of our control, as well as our sensory overloads or meltdowns, as well as everything else that comes with it in that territory. And that sometimes many people think, that we're just craving for attention when our, meltdowns occur or those sensory overloads occur, but that's not hardly the case. Got to bear in mind though, when it happens, you need to be prepped and ready to actually take hold of what's going to happen. Hence why in the last few videos over, I've been sharing hopefully some parts on how to, prevent and deal with the meltdowns for someone that you may know of that suffers from autism, ADHD, or some other form of condition that may have show similar, symptoms and signs of it. you know, from time to time though, regardless of it all, you know, I can be, when it comes down to it, I can be okay, cool, calm, collected, the three C's to a point, but then again, this will vary from time to time on everyday situations, regardless what it is. Sometimes also, when it comes down to these meltdowns and that, I feel that with my way of how I cope with it may be different from others, as I shared so many times before with the tips and advice that how to word it nicely. With me, you know, when it comes down to it, like I said, with some people that has those meltdowns, if they start to stim before that self-harming stage, like I said, which really gets up my goat, do not stop them from stimming. You know, do not say something along the lines that can you try and do it at home in the privacy of your home. What will be. Whenever it happens. We just, like I said, need to be prepped and ready, you know, no matter what. Sometimes, like I said, as I've watched some people, other mental health videos, how they cope with this and many other disorders, you know, my heart goes out to them and trying to live their everyday lives regardless of all the, you know, judgmentality, stereotyping and stigma that goes with it of these mental health issues that comes along the way. Another one, like I said, basically, some people with AS for another form of mental disorder, before I run out of time, may suffer from personality disorders, bipolar disorders, where they may have the extreme highs and lows as well, and bouts of anxiety and confusion about their, you know, sexuality. The big ones for people with Asperger's syndrome are, as I've just briefly mentioned earlier, is your stress, depression, anxiety in general, as well as social anxiety, and many more. Often or not, depression is the most common one that will most likely to affect the person with Asperger's syndrome, as well as for them to try and cope with it in their own way in their day-to-day living, because obviously, as I said before, everyone has their own coping mechanisms, and, you know, many people have been asking me, regardless of what I go through in life, do I need medication, do I take any, and all those questions that flies at me. And at this current time, no, I don't take any. Even though I have been prescribed some medications a long time ago, but my parents, especially my mother, as well as myself now, especially since I'm all about health and awareness and stuff, she and I have been obviously doing our own homework based on our the active ingredients versus every other ingredients inside some of the medications, because, you know, as I said before on one of the series over, if you've been following, is there's some ingredients that doctors don't tell you what's inside the actual medication, and sometimes it pays for us to try and hopefully do our homework and know the adverse side effects versus, you know, what it does to our body, you know, and how long it will take to effect of actually digest and do its pharmaceutical effects of doing its job of whatever it was supposed to do in the first place, of those clinical side effects, basically, you know, because it's pays to do that anyway, I feel, because many people tend to, you know, just not do that. I'm not meaning all people will, you know, I'm not trying to get at anyone in particular here about how they go about it. It's just word of caution, just to read the back of the label, obviously, and do your homework with these medications that's given to you, because, as I said, many doctors don't even tell you, so it's pays to do our own homework as well and know what works for us and what doesn't, and hopefully let the doctors know, or whoever we're, you know, listed under, and let them know, and hopefully they'll listen to us. But it's okay to ask for a second opinion or advice from someone else that's outside their realm, and hopefully they'll be able to let us know what's being done and out. Not many people will know or are aware that they're suffering from depression or any of these other mental health issues that I've clearly addressed just now, because obviously, you know, as I said, the reason being is maybe lack of self-awareness and understanding, for starters, and then another one is, so many times before, as I mentioned, that some of these conditions will evolve into, basically, with Asperger's syndrome in that territory. People can suffer from AS and have other mental health conditions along the way, as I said, such as maybe OCD, social anxiety, schizophrenia, depression, personality disorders, self-harming, and loads more. Hosts of different conditions. Okay, so basically that ends what I can think of right now of this story, briefly about me as well on this mental health one with the mental health and issues. Give me the like for thumbs up for support and engagement. Feel free to comment below if you suffer from anything, and maybe give us some tips and advice about how you go with it, and maybe something along the lines, just to reach out to me privately if you need to on AspieAnswersAll, or even direct message me on that YouTube. Basically, just feel free to do so. You know, if you need to rant, rave, or just need some sort of, you know, tips or advice, if you feel that, you know, need be, because as I said, I'm here to reach out to others, and hopefully that together we can work together as a team and feel like we're not being misjudged, misread, and everything else in between. Feel free to also subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Feel free to share these videos to family and friends, because as I said, some of these videos I know will be for someone, and then hopefully in the long haul that basically with these videos, regardless if it's messages of hope or just everyday videos that I'm sharing of my life story, that will be a lifesaver or life changing experience for you, or just to hopefully, besides getting to know me, as well as just getting to know your loved one a bit more, or whatever else it may be. I know sometimes many people may think that, you know, people that are on that autism spectrum scale, or any other form of learning disability or disorder, shall we say, that they may find that they're really hard to understand, and they don't deserve our attention and all that. But that's not 100% true. Well, after all, we're still human, and we still need love, affection, understanding, and everything else in between, because we're still humans also, but just look at it a different way in our mindset. So no further ado, guys, love what you do what you love. Thanks for your support, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you all again.